Welcome to SWTV, Sylvia with the Voice, your ultimate source for the most abnormal news and wildest reactions on the internet. I'm Sylvia, and we need to talk about what is happening in these streets. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button because it's about to get weird. Let's go. Y'all, we have a huge development in the Karmelo Anthony case, and this one could have major implications. The judge who presided over Karmelo's murking trial has now been removed from further proceedings after Karmelo's new legal team challenged his objectivity. And remember, Karmelo was convicted and sentenced to 35 years, but now his attorneys are fighting for an entirely new trial. Before anybody gets confused, his conviction has not been overturned, and a new trial has not been granted. But getting the original judge recused, damn, that is definitely a development worth talking about. Let's get into exactly what happened, y'all.
Where the judge at the center of that high school track meet stabbing trial has been removed as the convicted teen is appealing his conviction. You might remember the case is when then 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony was involved in a confrontation with 17-year-old Austin Metcalf in the rival team's tent. That altercation turning deadly with Anthony stabbing Metcalf. He claimed it was self-defense, but he was convicted of and sentenced to more than 30 years in prison. Anthony is black, Metcalf was white, and this case has sparked massive backlash, dividing the community, especially along the lines of race. And almost immediately after that June decision, his family said they plan to fight the verdict.
You say I'm upset? Hell yeah, I'm upset.
Mad as hell.
I respected this process. But we're going to fight like hell to make sure that Collin County know that Karmelo Anthony is not going to go away.
A correspondent, Xavier Walton, is live in McKinney, Texas. So, Xavier, Anthony's defense team argues the judge was not acting impartial after he spoke publicly about the case.
Nicole, that's exactly right. And that post-conviction fight for Karmelo Anthony's team really started today. And I'll tell you what, court started a little after 9. There were some delays, but it only took 1 hour. That's it for Karmelo Anthony's new defense team to convince this judge, that Judge John Roach, who presided over Anthony's trial back in June, that he should be recused. That's it. It took 1 hour. So just about an hour ago, there was a loud outroar outside of the courthouse. We went down there to see what happened. Inside the courtroom, I am told it was tense. I'm told it was emotional. A clip from an interview that Judge Roach, that you were just talking about, Nicole, did 2 days after Anthony was found guilty of first-degree murder, was played for the court to hear. Now, in that clip, Judge Roach agreed that the jury, quote, got it right. The Anthony defense team, his new defense team, says Judge Roach compromised his impartiality during that very interview. Here's what it sounded like for supporters of Karmelo Anthony after today's decision. Now, Roach has defended those restrictions that he initially put in place when it comes to media, cameras, and audio in a written statement, saying the overwhelming focus on my ruling regarding the media in the courtroom was to protect the process, witnesses, and jury. And that's one of the things at the forefront for the defense, saying that Roach would not allow these things. A visiting judge from South Texas named Sid Harrell, that name may sound familiar. That's because he's the judge who presided over the Uvalde School Resource Officer trial earlier this year. He's going to be back here tomorrow to handle Anthony's post-trial proceedings. But Nicole, I'll tell you what, before today, leading up to these two hearings, I reached out to legal experts, and they said that the Karmelo Anthony defense team had an uphill battle. And I think a lot of people, if you ask them, they will tell you that they were a little bit shocked by this decision, not only by the decision, but how quickly it was made too, just 1 hour from the time that hearing started to when that decision was made by the judge today.
All right, so Xavier, some say this is an uphill battle, the defense now getting past that first hurdle, but now it's turning to its push for a new trial. What are they arguing went wrong during that trial?
So there are three big arguments, and we're going to start with this, the restrictions on public access, essentially closing down the courtroom. Now, if you'll recall, back in June, there were no cameras allowed. There was no audio allowed. So it really was people inside, and there was only like 9 or 10 media seats too. And then there was like 28 public viewing areas. So it was a limited amount of people inside of that courtroom. So that's one of the main arguments. The second one is they say the prosecutors backed away from a so-called gentleman's agreement to keep certain character evidence out of the initial trial. That's another argument made by the defense. And the third is they're challenging the jury's instructions involving the self-defense claim. Now, the prosecution, Bill Werski, he did put out a statement saying the jury, heard extensive evidence over the course of the trial. This is back in June, obviously, returned a unanimous verdict. We remain confident in that verdict and the fairness of the proceedings. So obviously both sides are sticking to their guns here, but the hearing on Anthony's request for a new trial is set for tomorrow at 9 a.m. As we're looking at these live pictures, there's still some people out here, but I'll tell you what, as soon as that decision came down, Nicole, you heard a loud roar from outside of the courtroom, and that's when we went down there. First hurdle for the Anthony team today, second hurdle tomorrow, potentially a new trial. We'll have to wait and see. I should also mention there were families from both sides, both the Metcalf family and the Anthony family, inside of that courtroom 2 months following that guilty verdict. Nonetheless, very emotional. One hurdle today, another hurdle certainly going to be emotional again tomorrow.
Now, this is important. The judge being removed does not mean another judge decided Karmelo was innocent. It just means that the court determined that the judge, John Roach Jr., should no longer preside over these post-trial proceedings. But from the defense team's perspective, this is significant because they specifically challenged the judge's impartiality and they got the result that they were asking for. I already know this case divides people. Some people believe Karmelo acted in self-defense, others believe their jury got it right. But regardless of which side you're on, do you think he deserves a new trial if his attorney can demonstrate the original proceedings were unfair? And y'all know how social media works, so I'm going to say this again. Karmelo has not been released, his conviction has not disappeared, and he has not been granted a new trial. Right now, his attorneys are asking for one. So this legal battle is far from finished. Karmelo Anthony remains convicted and sentenced to 35 years, but his defense just cleared one significant hurdle by getting the original judge removed from the post-trial proceedings. Now all eyes turn to the new judge and that request for a new trial. And if that request is granted, this case could be headed into a completely different direction. Please remember to comment, like, subscribe. We'll continue the conversation in the comments below. Please remember to be mindful and respectful, and I'll see you in the next video.